So, our topic of discussion is claim management. So, let us go through this training module and let me explain each segment of it. So, what is claim management? Claim management is an inevitable process in construction project management to reach successfully the desired results. The requirement in first place is to avoid claim through managing the breeding grounds with all earnest alignment of documents and evenly entertaining an entitlement in an efficient and business-like manner. Claim management is an management issue and the process needs efficient and effective management during the entire life cycle of a project. So basically it is to have the right owning and ownership in the construction management, and as it is said that it is mainly to avoid all kinds of unauthorized and illegal settlements, that is to have the proper documentation and the authorization letters and the procedures to be followed in a construction management place. Now, the four phases of claim management, that is, the construction project generally has four well recognized phases. So, let us go through this. That is, phase 1 we can say as pre-tender, that is the initial concept, design of contract documentation, pre-tender meetings and up to the invitation of tenders, that is first of all inviting the tenders through the government or the private sectors and allowing them to have the proper documentation and the quality that would be providing of their materials, the prices, etc. Phase 2 is of contract formulation, that is preparation and submission of the tenders as decided by the authorities. The next is the phase 3, that is construction during construction up to substantial completion, that is part of the project which has been completed to a level. And the last is the phase 4, that is post completion, that is settlement of outstanding issues after substantial completion and finalization of accounts, that is where the finalization and settlement of a construction project comes into hand after the tenders and passing of the contracts and negotiations. This is the final stage that the completion state has reached. So, the inputs and tools required to claim prevention, that is the necessary inputs required to claim prevention process, are the scope assessment, that is an assessment of work that needs to encompass all requirements and satisfy the purpose, because a scope is, as we know, is the objective or the aim, as we say, that what is actually the need and the necessary for doing the purpose of this thing. And next is required distribution of information, that is plan for distribution of any necessary information to project players who prepare responses to risk, that is it is basically a pre-planned segmentation of processes which are sorted beforehand before the project players are taken to any kind of risk. So it is kind of also an assessment which is done beforehand. Next is management scheme of project, that is the required management scheme that defines the responsibilities of major players and stakeholders. Next is requirement of risk sharing scheme. The scheme of risk sharing among the major players and stakeholders, that is in any kind of project there arises some amount of risk, as we all know. So because of this risk which has arisen or is about to arise from any project, there should be an agreement between the major players and the stakeholders, all those who are sharing an equivalent stake in the project, and how should they be dealing with if the risk arises. Last is the time frame for project completion, that is an assessment of logical time frame for completion, that is every project needs a proper project closure. So a time frame, a deadline should be mentioned beforehand, that when the project should be completed actually. So that is also an assessment that should be done. So next is the inputs and tools required to claim prevention, that is also continued to the next slide. that is dependency. Like project players' understanding of alignment to the defined purpose and dependency of responsibilities for risk sharing. As we have said that each of the participants who are there in the project share some amount of risk, and they are dependent on their responsibilities as what their purpose is on the project and how they're dependent on it with the risks aligned to it. Next is conflicts of interest, that is defined assessment of interest and respect for difference, also the need assessment required, and then is the strength and weaknesses of employer. Like an analysis of strength or weaknesses of employer would be convenient to have beforehand, as the claim management could be effective in knowing as what could go wrong in any case, or as what the strengths are in the present project and how we should go ahead with it. Next is necessary tools and techniques that help claim prevention, that is methodology for economic exchange. Methodology with win-win outcomes that serves best as a scheme of management and risk sharing of project players. Identification and assessments of project closure, like everything that is necessary to add value or is required to serve the purpose of project needs to be incorporated in project scope. Information sharing, distribute information in accordance with the responsibility and risk carried by project player. Templates, that is tasted methodology and lessons learned on similar projects. Expert judgment, independent views of experts of the field to ascertain that the approach adapted will lead to win-win ends, as we had already said. So these are basically the necessary tools and the strategies which must be adhered to before going ahead with the claims process, or if at all the needs for claim prevention arises. So for this, the experts or the executives and the project managers must take care of these things before going for the project claims. Also, the other tools which are required, that is, these are the secondary tools which are necessary. That is the alignment of documents, that all documents are aligned with the purpose of a contract. That is there should be the legal invoices properly mentioned with the rules that has been there over the country or the local states and the government before going for any like kind of construction or manufacturing sector. Next is dispute resolution, a reliable mechanism for fast resolution of disputes. Like if any kind of land issues arises on basis of the factory on which it is set up, so there should be the proper paperwork which should be given and sanctioned by the government, and the laws which are abided. In that case, the issues can be sorted out more easily and given a proper resolution. Next is partnering approach, respect for project players' independence and commercial interest. Monitoring and control, the system and team developed for project monitoring and control. Education and training, project lifelong continuous education and training is necessary to develop an atmosphere of trust, respect for purpose and direction setting through the complexities. So overall, as we can see that these inputs and tools must be mentioned well, and all the formalities should be completed rightly as per the laws abided of the land, and the organization should even train and educate their people to have this conceptual approach, have the trust and mutual development for each other, through which this we can prevent first of all the disputes which arises and also result in a smooth functioning of the work. So next is the responsible persons for claim management. That is the persons, if any dispute arises, these are the persons who deal with the situation, like the claim managers. Those are the first persons who are reported to have any issues arising from the organization or the setups. So they are the first to know from the organization if any issue has evolved. Next is the insurance analysts, also the risk managers who are there to evolve, and also we have the brokers and agents who deal as the third party and also a bridge between the insurance analysts, as we can see. Last is the employees in any job function that includes oversight or coordination of claims administration services. So these are basically the responsible persons liable for claim management. Let us go to the next slide. So the benefits of claim management, that is project scope, that is scope of the work being explicit or implicit to satisfy the purpose that can be known. Also, like contract form, economic exchange adopted in contract leads to for a win-win situation, like well-defined risk sharing and responsibility policy. The contract form may be in a basis of cost plus fee, management, lump sum, quoted rate for bill of quantities, design and construct, and BOT. Also, like the contract documents, which is, as I said, all documents must be carefully aligned with the purpose. Dispute resolution methodology, like an independent dispute resolution board must be defined. Trust building and training plan. Action plan is developed to train and educate the team of project players on claim or contract management during any procession for trust building. So with this, we have come to the end of our presentation. Thank you for your patient listening.